Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Leaky Lou. I want to start this video with two disclaimers. First disclaimer is that the title is totally a lie, because I'm not talking about Jaden Yuki, I'm talking about Yuki Judai from the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I think that this does not apply to Jaden Yuki. Maybe it does, but like, I remember there's that part in episode 3 where he's like...
Impressed? I think I'm in love.
You're sweet.
When he's talking about Alexis, and then I think that I guess I just haven't watched enough of the dub, and I'm pretty sure that anything that is there on this level probably gets totally nixed and taken away. So I'm going to assume that this is only for the sub, and I'm pretty sure that's the case. So the second disclaimer I want to say is that I did not come into this show looking to make a video about LGBT representation in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I think there's a strong, thriving community of people that are into taking Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters and imagining them or reimagining them, depending on your... interpretation as gay characters, and I think that's great. More power to you. Do your thing. That's not. I'm not coming to this with that, and I don't mean that in just like, oh, dude, bro, I'm not gay type of way. I mean that to say that like I am. In fact, I mean, if we're being honest, I genuinely came to this expecting the opposite, because as a kid I was into Alexis and Jaden's whole thing. I was kind of a romantic kid, and Alexis, she's a girl in an anime, and as a kid, those cartoons, they activate things within you. You know what I mean? Like I was into Alexis as a kid, so I was actually, upon my rewatch of this, and interested because it was my first time watching the GX subtitle all the way through, I was interested in being like, hey, I wonder how they handled Jaden and Alexis in like a slightly more mature version of the show. So I was interested in seeing that. So I came to this expecting the opposite. And so really, I'm not looking for this. I'm not trying to come to this with some kind of like agenda. Obviously I think LGBT representation is great, but I did not watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX intending to come out of it making this video. I'm not biased towards the conclusion that I'm drawing. In fact, if I am in any way biased, it would be biased against this conclusion. But I think that everything I'm about to say just like stuck out to me in like a really strong, very obvious way, I would say. And I think that there's definitely an element to it of like, I was really into English in like high school and college, like always into literature, stuff like that. And so, it kind of teaches you to approach works of media in a way that like really understands or thinks about the sort of like symbolic stuff or the stuff that's kind of right underneath the surface, but that's not explicitly being said. And so I will say, there's a bit of that here. It's not ever something the show is just straight up is like, yeah, this is a thing. But I think like any like film student, any literature student, any person that like is, or maybe not students. I mean, you don't have to be a student to think about these things, but I just mean like anybody who's interested in unpacking works of art would watch this and see that like there's definitely very clearly obvious undertones there that are not imagined, that I'm not just someone who's just like making this up. And that's why I'm shocked. I'm super shocked that no one has ever talked about this before. Yo, what's up, y'all? This is actually Leaky Lou from the future. Wanted to rectify something. In this video, I say a lot that I've never found anybody online saying or making the point that I'm making in this video. But right before I finished rendering this, I decided to just double check again. And it is, I think I looked a little more closely, and it is mentioned a few times in different forums and stuff online. So I'm sorry about that. I'm going to say that a few more times in the video. It's not entirely true. I'm not the first person to think of this. So that's a good thing. I have not found a single thing on the internet about this. And it's like, what? Like, I watched the show and I was like, dude, this is like here. This is like right here. Like, why has like a super nerdy, PhD student not written an essay about this? I don't know. They should, because it's there. So anyways, I'm making the point here that yes, Jaden Yuki or Yuki Judai is an LGBT character in the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I think it's there. If you watch the first two, or when I watched the first two seasons, I was really struck by the fact that I thought very explicitly that the show was saying that Jaden is really kind of what you may call aromantic or asexual. Whether it's just because he's young or whatever, like maybe that's how he would always be. Who knows? But basically, I think it's super clear over and over and over throughout the show that Jaden is not attracted to women or is into romance on the same level as literally anybody else in the show. Jaden's love is for dueling, and that is apparent over and over and over and over again. Whether it's in GX15, where he duels Harrington Rosewood, and the whole thing is like who's going to become Alexis' fiance, and then at the end he's like, hey, by the way, what's a fiance?
まさか告白
フィアンセってなんだ
And that is the key to Jaden, is that anytime anything romantic or anything about women or girls comes up, he's clueless. He doesn't know anything about what anybody's talking about. He's like, dude, he's just not even on that level. You go to GX36, that's the one where Bastion duels Tanya. The beginning of that one is when they talk about their idol card, and they call it in the sub, or basically like, you know, you might call it a best girl or their waifus in their deck, right? And Cyrus is Thunder Nyan Nyan. Chumley's is Dying Kettle the Cure Master, although it's kind of depends on how you approach that that translation. It seems to me like he's saying that like that she's his best girl because like she reminds him of his mom, and like he wants a woman that like makes him feel safe and like makes him feel protected, like his mom did or something like that. But you could also interpret that as him saying that like he sees her as a motherly figure, not something that he's like into. But I don't think that's what the show's saying. But either way, there's White Magician Pickaroo for Bastion, which is super weird. Just maybe I don't know, maybe that's another video. I don't know, putting a pin in that one. Very strange. But when they asked Jaden, he's like, oh yeah, I like my cards. Just like doesn't really even engage with it, or he does. It's not like he's like actively not answering. He just like doesn't even think about it, you know. And there is two versions of the subtitle. One is the original one that I think they're called Shriek, that did them back when GX was first coming out. Shouts out to those guys, because we were watching those the weeks of, and they were doing those so fast. And then there was there's the Crunchyroll version, which I don't know if that's done by Crunchyroll or whatever. But they have slightly different lines there. In one of them, Jaden says something like, yeah, I like my cards.
ねえ兄貴もあるでしょお気に入りのアイドルカード
そりゃ俺だって好きなカードぐらい
And in the other one, he says something like, yeah, I have a card that I like.
ねえ兄貴もあるでしょお気に入りのアイドルカード
そりゃ俺だって好きなカードぐらい
But the way that the other characters react to it, and I think especially looking at one of the translations where he's very clearly saying, yeah, I just like my cards, like not answering, I don't think that, I mean, I think it's pretty evident if you watch the scene that when he says, yeah, I have one card that I like, that he's not saying, I have a best girl in my deck. You know, obviously there's no scenes of Jaden crushing on Burstinatrix, like, right? Like, he's just saying, yeah, I like my cards. Like, he's just not even really interacting with the question. He's just like, yeah, I like my cards. If you go to, no, in the same episode, actually, there's there's potentially, you could say, like, kind of a sub-theme going on where he duels Tanya about, like, love, but it's super clear that it's about his love for dueling, and that Tanya is sort of, like, representing, in this moment when they're, like, punching each other in the face and shit like that, like, it's very, very clear that it's, like, this is his love for dueling, and it never even goes, like, you know, with Bastion, she puts on the high voice and gets all romantic, and Bastion gets the blushing and all these things. Like, none of that's there. It never feels romantic or sexual in any way. It's literally just like, if this means I get to duel in a really passionate way, like, I feel it. And again, Jaden is kind of like those people online that are like, oh yeah, I'm a sapiosexual, you know? Like, Jaden is kind of that guy, but for dueling, he's a dual-lo-sexual. And so that's kind of my interpretation of the first two seasons. You go to GX42, when Alexis puts on the Harpy Lady costume, and Jaden and Chumley are standing there, and Chumley starts, like, stuttering, and Jaden's like, hey man, why are you talking weird?
いいんだなありなんだなバッチグーなんだな隼人日本語おかしいぞ
Just like totally oblivious, doesn't even get that because, you know, Alexis is wearing the Harpy Lady costume, that Chumley's like having trouble speaking in front of her. He doesn't even get it. He doesn't even see it. And of course, in that same episode, that's the one with the Dark Magician Girl, and all the guys in the crowd, even Crowler and obviously Cyrus are like, and you know, Chaz is into Alexis, so he's not doing it, but you know, every guy's like, oh my god, it's Dark Magician Girl.
ブラマジガールのターンだしっかり応援しようぜ
And Jaden's just like not even clued in, like not even thinking about it, right? Zane is like that too, but you know, Zane is Zane. Zane is just an emotionless guy, whatever. Like, obviously Zane's not going to be the one blushing or anything. Does Zane ever? Maybe Zane, I don't know if Zane. I don't think Zane ever has any kind of romantic things going on in the show. Zane also is Zane's romance is like the, you know, the pain thing. Zane's got a whole other thing going on. He's kind of like how I thought Jaden was in the first two seasons of GX, but like in a painful way. He's in love with He's in love with pain and dueling, and I don't know. There's a lot going on there. We might need to unpack Zane as well. You know, we're gonna put that on the shelf. Moving on to episode 43, when Gamble Angel Bunny is summoned by Mitsuo the boy, or I don't even know his name in the dub. When Cyrus is like, "Oh my God, Gamble Angel Bunny," and Jaden just looks over at him like, "Hey, aren't you in love with Dark Magician Girl?"
かわいい
あれ お前ブラックマジシャンガール一筋じゃなかったのか？
もちろんっすよ。
You know, again, no, not thinking about it, not like blushing, he's not thinking about girls. He just doesn't. And Chumley and Cyrus later on in the end of the episode, when Harrington's like, oh, like I was in love with you or whatever, and they're all like, oh man, like it's a good thing she won, but she didn't get a second chance at love. And Chumley and Cyrus are like, huh, you know, Cyrus is like, yeah, she didn't, you know, and then Jaden is completely oblivious to that, like in that moment, just like you can see that he's not even thinking on that level. And then he starts talking about like, oh, he really wants to duel Harrington now and all these things. And then everybody in the shot is like, oh my god, Jaden, you're so clueless. And then even Crowler says he's not quite ready for the duel of love.
だけど恋にセカンドチャンスはなかったんだな。そんなことより最高だったぜアスカ。お前もだボーイ。今度は俺とやろうぜ。ガチャ。アスカ最高。デュエル最高。ああ、若いって素晴らしい。
シニョール10代に恋のデュエルはまだ早いのね。
最高だぜ。
And it's like, yeah, they're telling us explicitly Jaden is not thinking on that level. And you know, GX47, there's a little part where this is the one where Chaz is trying to duel Alexis for his love and all this nonsense. And there's one moment, you know, Chaz is Jun Manjomi is his name, and he's like, for the first time ever, makes everyone call him by all these honorifics, and he called, you know, at least Manjomi, right? But he's like, call me Jun. And then in this shot, there's 5 guys in the shot. There's Jaden, Bastion, Zane, Chumley, and Cyrus, and all 4 of the other guys are like, oh my god. And you can see Jaden's face. He's just sitting there like, just like not even keyed in. This man is clueless, right? He's not thinking on this level. And obviously also, you know, for all the Alexis Jaden people out there, like I once was, the poor simp that I was as a child, you know, this is an episode where Chaz is very explicitly declaring his love for Alexis, and unlike in any other anime context, at least for Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, I don't know, there are other animes out there, obviously, but in like the sort of like stereotypical anime, you know, when one person is saying they have feelings for someone, the person that's in love with them has to blush and get mad and do the whole, you know, Mai and Teiya thing, right? Like, super common in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's how they always do it. There's none of that from Jaden, right? Jaden didn't even care. And so I was really shocked to find when I was watching this, like, oh, Jaden actually doesn't have any feelings for Alexis. Alexis is in love with Jaden, which is obviously said multiple times throughout the show, but he doesn't have any feelings for her. Like, that's very explicit. He never once shows any feelings at all for anybody. So that was my thoughts at the end of season 2. And then a character named Jesse Anderson gets introduced into the show. And I want you to watch this scene where they meet each other. And I want you to put your film glasses on, put your literature professor glasses on. You know, like, it's not going to be this super explicit thing, but I'm like, if Jessie were a girl, I don't think there'd be any question about this scene right here. Like, please, watch the scene.
こんなところにいたのか。
よっ。そいつルビーっていうのか？
ああ、こいつはカーバンクルのルビー。
カーバンクル？
伝説上の生き物さ。
伝説って？
ああ、それってハネクリボー。それじゃあ君が結城10代。
そうだけど、お前ハネクリボーが見えるのか？
俺には小さい頃からデュエルモンスターズの精霊が見えるんだ。それは君も同じだろ？
うん。俺もずっと小さい頃から。ところで見たことない顔だけど新入生か？
へ？まあそう言われれば新入生かな。
そうか、よく来たな、デュエルアカデミアに。なんか不思議な気がする。
俺もだ。初めて会った気がしないぜ。
Okay, so like, come on, like, I mean, you know, and I think like, you know, Jesse, I think obviously what Jesse represents is sort of like Jaden's love for dueling, like personified into a person. And that's why, like, you know, well, before I say this, I should also say that another huge part of my point is not just that one scene, but also the fact that, you know, the entire rest of the season becomes about the fact that Jesse sacrifices himself for Jaden, and Jaden is on this one beelined I need to save Jesse. It doesn't matter who else gets caught. It doesn't matter who else gets hurt. All my friends are I'm disregarding them. I'm discounting anything else. I need to save Jesse. I mean, like, that is literally the plot of season 3. Is that these two boys have this like deep, like transcendent connection that like they can't really explain with each other, and like it's very clearly there.
ほらこのターンはさこうしてこうやった方が良かったんじゃない？
本当はそうしたかったんだけどさ、俺はこっちを狙ったわけ。
なるほどね。
それよりお前のこのターンだけど、兄貴。
平和だど。なんだあいつら。リュエルバカがもう一人増えたってことだ。僕はプロリーグに帰るよ。
それ。
あ、そっか。
結城10代は自分と同じように精霊の見える不思議な少年ヨハンとデュエルして以来すっかり意気投合したようだ。
これ購買部で買ってきたんだけどさ、一緒に見てくれるかな？
おう、新しいパックを開けるときはドキドキするよな。
ああ。
おお、レアがあったぜ。
すげえ。こっちもだ。10代。よかった。気がついたか、10代。
ヨハン。ここは早く止めないと。
10代。その体じゃまだ無理だ。少し休め。いざとなったら俺がお前の代わりに言ってやるよ。待っててくれ。俺は必ず戻ってくる。
ヨハン、みんな。ヨハン、俺たちが道を開く。隙を見て脱出しろ。
けど
ヨハン、俺たちにはやるべきことがある。信じるんだ、10代たちを。
必ず戻ってくる。待ってろよ。
Yo, Likilu from the future again. Something that I totally forgot to mention here that's a huge part of this is the fact that literally the reason why Yubel captures Johan or Jesse in the first place is literally because she's jealous, or they're jealous of Jesse. Like, they're like, why do you love Jesse and you don't love me? Like, you never loved me like you love that person.
大丈夫か、10代。無事に手に入れてきたぜ、レインボードラゴンを。
ヨハン、お前なら必ずやると信じてたぜ。
なんだこいつ。こいつが来て10代の闘志が蘇ってきた。
こうも簡単に僕の10代を許さない貴様。
目が高鳴る。こんなすげえモンスターと戦えるなんて嬉しくて心臓バクバクだぜ。ヨハン。何がおかしい？
すげえ。これが三元魔か。ワクワクするぜ。こいつらと俺のレインボードラゴン、どっちが強いのかな。なあ、10代。
ヨハン、
あいつ、これが俺たちが元の世界に戻る戦いだと分かっているのか。なるほど、こいつ10代と似ている。
ヨハン、待ってろ。必ず連れ戻してやるからな。
君も嬉しいんだろう。愛する者と本気で傷つけ合うことが。
でもどうせならなぜ僕に対してもこのぐらい本気になってくれなかったんだろう。
That has to be said. Like, not only does he literally spend the entire season searching for Jesse, like, and have this deep connection with Jesse for the whole time that he's with him, but also the reason why Jesse gets taken is because that is the one friend out of all of Jaden's friends, not Alexis, not anybody else, not Cyrus, you know. It is Jesse that Yubel is so jealous of because they see that in Jaden's face, like the look on Jaden's face in multiple parts when Jaden is interacting with Jesse, and how Jesse is able to kind of rejuvenate Jaden and has that energy. So that's why Yubel has such a fascination with and ends up taking Jesse on as their final avatar before becoming just Yubel at the very end. So anyway, I feel like that's a very important point to make that I'd forgotten about. So yeah, and then he goes out of it. Like, the whole plot of the show is about him chasing Jesse down for the whole season. Well, I guess the second half of the season. That's like how the season ends, with like that whole span. I mean, that's what causes everything that happens in the second half of the season, is that Jaden needs to save Jesse.
すぐだったわ。10代。
俺だ。俺のせいだ。ヨハンを置いてきてしまったのは俺の責任だ。
そんなことない。10代のおかげでみんな助かったのよ。責任なんてあるわけないわ。
みんな何も知らないんだ。全部俺が悪いんだ。
あんな暗い10代の目を見るのは初めてよ。もし10代がこのことを知ったら。兄貴がいない。
どこ行ったの？
やはり一人だけで。バカ。
ヨハン君のこときっと自分の責任だと。
ヨハン、今行く。どんなことをしてもお前を連れ戻す。ヨハン、今行くぞ。
待て10代。やめるんだ10代。異次元へ行くのは危険すぎる。
ほっといてくれ。俺はヨハンを助けなきゃならないんだ。
その入り口が俺たちの行った異次元へ通じているとは限らないんだぞ。
そうだとしても俺は可能性にかける。
You know, regardless of the fact that a lot of other people got caught there and he didn't think about them, you could argue that maybe he would do that for any friend, but like, you know, he sacrifices all the rest of his friends while doing this. So like, I don't think that makes sense.
10代、どうするつもりだ。
決まってるだろ。収容所に行く。
よく考えろ。感情的になるな。フリードが言っていたように今出れば。
そうよ、彼らに迷惑がかかるわ。
それにまだそこにヨハンが確実にいると分かったわけじゃない。収容所に行くにしてももっと情報が必要だ。
10代、焦らないで。
分かったよ。
大変だオブライエン君。10代君が一人で出て行ってしまった。なんだって。
一人で突っ走りやがって。
そうざうるせえ。
兄貴、こっち来てからなんか変す。
ヨハン君の手がかりがあるかもしれないと知っていても立ってもいられなくなったんだろうね。
それにしたって自分勝手っす。でも10代がそう決めたのなら私たちついていくしかないわね。
アスカ、
俺で次の砦まですぐ行けるぜ。
ちょっと待て。次の砦にヨハンがいるって決まったわけじゃない。今度もいなかったらどうするつもりなんだ。
なーに、いなきゃ次を探すまでさ。フリードの仲間たちを助けることはできるしさ。
それでもいなかったら
この世界は広い。いつかどこかできっと出会えるさ。はっ、兄貴。じゃあ先行ってるぜ。俺についてきてくれ。
ちょっと待ってよ。
待つなうるせえ。
たく、ちょっとは俺たちにも相談しろよ。
俺は行く。お前を連れ戻すためならどこまでだって信じている。ヨハン、お前は必ずこの世界で生きていてくれるって。
10代のやつ、俺たちのことなんか眼中にない。
確かに俺たちはヨハンを助け出すためにこの世界に来たざうるせえ。ヨハン君を見つけるための手がかりがわずかばかりではあっても見つかったんだし、しょうがないと言えばしょうがないけど。
でも今の10代は何かが違う気がするの。
ここで立ち止まってしまったらきっと二度と再び走り出せなくなってしまう。ヨハンに届くことができなくなってしまうんだ。
Anyways, back to what I was saying though. I think that this is why because when I first watched it, I originally thought like, oh, Jaden is gay. But I think it's why I changed the video to like LGBT because I don't know if it's specifically about like guys. I think that the thing is, I think, and as is very clear throughout season 1 and 2, Jaden is in love with dueling. And I mean, what I think is that Jesse sort of personifies that in a way. Like Jesse, it's like his, you know, they have this bond that you know can't be explained, and it's like I think that could have maybe been a woman or could have been, you know, I don't know, anybody, right? Like I don't know for sure, but I think that like it just happens to be Jesse that has this deep connection with Jaden. And you know, you could always argue that it's brotherly, it's friendly, it's just like you know, a bond between two very, very close friends who are very similar, you know. But I think that this is why I said, like, I think that this has a long history in media about young gay men. I think that there's a ton. I mean, this is like a trope almost, you could say. Like, this is all throughout it because I think that what that media, like, so often deals with is the fact that it's taboo, it's not allowed, it's unspoken, it's something that no one has ever helped you work through those feelings for yourself. Like, I'm thinking about, like, Moonlight or, like, Calling by Your Name or, like, I mean, like, there's a ton of things, like, right? Like, it's about, like, it's unspoken. It's not something that you even can speak about because you don't know, you don't really understand it. It's just kind of there. And so again, I think if you put your film glasses on like slightly, like not even that much, like I think it's very heavily implied, like that Jesse is like, you know, it personifies his love of dueling. It's this guy that he's got this. I mean, it is literally like any scene that you watch them in season 3 in the first half when they're together before Jesse gets taken away, like they are like the same person. They're just like so connected. They're always on the same page. They're always doing the same thing. It's like, wow, those guys are really something, you know. And it's like, dude, if Jesse was a girl, this wouldn't even be a question, right? Like it wouldn't even be a question. And I think like, you know, obviously, like I said, the show never makes it explicit like it does with, you know, guy-girl romances. And by explicit, all I mean is, you know, one of them blushes whenever the other one says something, or one of them gets like angry whenever another person is talking to them. Like that's the length pretty much that Yu-Gi-Oh goes, except for, I mean, I've only seen through 5Ds. I think 5Ds at the end gets a little more explicit, but pretty much that's the length that Yu-Gi-Oh was going through at this point to ever show romance. And if you think about it, I mean, this is only like one tier down from that. Like it's like when it's like in new movies nowadays, like all these animated movies where Disney and Pixar, I think people are calling it queer baiting, like, you know, like where, you know, they really want to get the brownie points for LGBT representation, but like they also don't want to get the hate and the potential profit loss that comes with that. So they're like, yeah, we're just gonna like sprinkle this in a little bit, you know what I mean? Like not say it. Like I think that this is up there with like the most queer baited stuff you could possibly find in you know, children's animation. Like it's there, it's super there, and it's there as undertones, you know, but it's there. I'm not making it up. I'm not coming to this like trying to find something that's there. Like when I was watching it, I was just like, holy shit, this is why Jaden is never interested in Alexis. Look at this connection between these two guys. I don't know, I think it's really there. And again, I'm super shocked that no one talks about this, because I think if you watch the sub of the show, I just think it's unmissable.
フレイムウィングマンの力を借りてヨハンの心に飛び込むんだ。
ネオス、
彼の固く閉ざされた心の扉をこじ開け、魂に直接呼びかけるんだ。フレイムシュート。
答えてくれ。本物のお前はここにいるんだろ。
ためらうな10代。
ネオス、
ヨハンを傷つけることを恐れていては本当の意味で彼を守り抜くことはできない。今できることはたとえリスクを冒してでも彼を真の痛みから解き放ってやることなのだ。
10代最高だよ。君を命を懸けて守ろうとした大切な人をこんな風に傷つけることができるなんて。
ヨハン、ヨハン、すまない。
なぜ謝ったりする。俺はお前に助けられたんだ。待ってくれ。まさかお前。
ああ、止めても無駄だ。
できれば一緒に戦いたい。でも今の俺はせめて俺のデッキを連れて行ってくれ。
Oh, and I forgot to say also, like, because I wanted to go back actually to the 162 episode with Jaden and Alexis, where, you know, I think that so often gets mischaracterized in internet conversations, and I think is like sort of maybe seen in a lot of situations as this scene of two young lovers who are kind of too young and unable to really talk through their feelings, and maybe will return one day as adults and like be together. Like that's how, you know, growing up, you know, even as a kid, when I first watched the sub, which was the first time I ever watched the sub was season 4 of GX because it wasn't dubbed. I realized like that was my interpretation of it, and because I wanted to see Jaden and Alexis together, right? Like that's kind of like how I think it's commonly characterized. But I think if you watch that scene after watching all of GX, it is super obvious, and this is not a stretch in any way, not in any way reading into anything. Like this is just strictly textual, like super clear that scene is about a girl who's in love with a boy who doesn't love her, and about her coming to terms with that and almost confessing her love before realizing it's actually really sad. It's like she actually realizes like, yeah, this is never gonna happen. Like he doesn't feel this way about me. He never has. He's never in any scene ever once shown an inkling of feelings for her. And it's kind of like that scene in Avengers Endgame where Pepper's like, one of the greatest failures of my life was trying to get you to sit down, or whatever she says. And it's like that kind of same thing with her. It's like, yeah, like I've wanted this for so long, and like it's not happening, you know.
10代今日はありがとう。
え、なんだよ。俺何もしてないぜ。
実はあなたのおかげで悩みが吹っ切れたの。
悩み？
ああ、いいの。それはもう。10代、私ね。
うん。
私、あなたのこと。あなたと出会えてとっても良かったって思ってる。これからもずっといいライバルでいましょう。
ああ。じゃあな。
ええ。
あ、そうだ。俺からもお前に言うことがあったんだ。ガッチャ、久しぶりに楽しいデュエルありがとう。アスカ。
So basically, yeah, that's it. I mean, I think that, again, if you want to take the most strictly textual interpretation of the show and not in any way read into any of the symbolism or how the shots are lined up or like any of the kind of understated, like the text underneath the text, like you would in like a film class or literature class or whatever, like, you know, like Jaden, you could say Jaden is asexual, aromantic, he's just into dueling, doesn't care, like that is on the page, can't even be denied in any way in the Japanese version. But I think that, again, my point is just that, if you look into it even slightly, like if you look into this with the lens of a person who interprets art for a living, that kind of thing, I mean, I think it's very clearly there. This is a boy who has shown no interest in any of the girls that anybody else in the whole show has ever shown interest in. You know, he's always just not paying attention, not keyed in, and then this new guy character gets introduced who he has this immense, deep, unspeakable bond with that like transcends words. It's like, it's just like, it's there, like, you know. And then the whole season is about him chasing after this boy and trying to get him back because he cares about him so deeply and because he blames himself for his loss. Like, I just don't, like, I guess I'm just saying all this to like protect myself against people that are gonna be like, yeah, you just have like an agenda, you're just like trying to da-da-da-da, and I'm like, no, like, it's there. Like, it's definitely there. I admit it's there in undercurrents, but it's there. It's so there. And, like, I'm just shocked it hasn't been talked about before, you know? I'm just pretty shocked about that. Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. I don't know, I'm gonna try to do more stuff like this. I would like to, like, make this, like, a better edited video and, like, talk over stuff that I've spliced together and stuff like that. Like, obviously I showed clips here, but, like, you know, I have like 60 subscribers. I don't have time just to make like really script out everything and make all these fancy video essays like other people do. I just don't have time for it right now, unfortunately. So this is the best I could do. But this was fun, and I want to kind of make more videos like this. I've got other kinds of content on the channel if you want to check it out. Like I said, I'm a small YouTuber, so I could use the support if you're interested in some of the stuff that I do. Do some the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime progression series is quite interesting, quite fun, so you should check that out. No, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime progression series. We're not at GX yet, not even close. But anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this, I guess. I would like to, you know, talk about shows and movies and things like that. I will be doing Moon Knight reviews soon, if that's something you're interested in. So, yeah, thanks for watching.